One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. I'm here at the 2018 Women Leaders in College Sports National Convention, and I'm joined by Chelsea Herman. Chelsea is a Senior Associate Athletics Director and Senior Women Administrator at Cal State San Bernardino. Greetings, Chelsea. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Ty. Thank you.
Now, Chelsea, you have roughly 20 years in college athletics, 24 or 5 if you want to include your time as a student athlete. And since you started working athletic, you've held a number of, I guess we'll use the term, internal related roles, right? Academic advising, compliance, and student athlete development, those type of roles. And now you oversee external type roles in your Senior Associate Athletic Director and Senior Woman Administrator role there at Cal State San Bernardino. Really all the public-facing things is what you mentioned to me earlier. How does your background and all those internal operations-related positions help you with your current role with this public-facing external situation?
No, that's a great question, and there are so few of us women that have the external designation, I'll say. And I'll say this, it's really simple because the common denominator is always about the student-athlete and the student-athlete development. So for me, I started there. The question was posed to me very early on. When I was choosing between academics and compliance, do you want to work with student athletes or do you want to work predominantly with coaches? And I chose the student athletes at that time, and that's really maintained my passion throughout, is for them. So the external facing was my opportunity to jump to the public facing, and now rather than talk so much about their student athlete experience from a what can I do at the ground level working with them directly, it was how can I amp up this experience and make their game day, make it feel special. And my big thing is the big time is where you're at. So we're at Cal State San Bernardino, and I want them to feel like they're playing in front of 90,000 in that arena. So amping that up.
Well, that's important, and I imagine what you do magnifies the student athlete experience so those on the outside can see it, right?
No, absolutely. Whether it's social media, whether it's, I talk to them all the time, if you want your jersey sold in the bookstore, not with your name but with your number, you got to come see me. You got to be one of my favorites. You want to be on ticket backs, you want to, you know what I'm saying? So, but it's my opportunity to put to the public our exemplars as far as our student athletes and how that goes.
Are there aspects of this position that you're in now that all the things internally you've done, are there aspects that they didn't prepare you for, or really challenges that you faced since you've been in the current role that you're in?
I will say every day is a new challenge. I think the personnel, and I've only been in this role for just over 7 months now in a brand new environment. It's my first time in Southern California. It's my first time in the Cal State system. And we are a very, very special institution just in the way that this goes. We're a Hispanic serving institution, very diverse. So I would say every day is a new challenge, but it's the personnel, it's new coaches, it's, for the first 6 weeks, you don't even know where the bathroom is, and people are firing shots at you. So we have a number 1 team in the nation. I will say they lost last Friday, but in volleyball. So we do have a national audience in some of our sports, and we only have 10 of them. So, but yeah, it's the first time when I came down, it was baseball season, and they like to say, my staff would like to say that I brought the rain down to Southern California. And all of a sudden I was moving from compliance, where I was worried about financial aid appeals and amateurism one day, to now I'm trying to orchestrate a rain out and work with officials in, I don't even know the name of the street where our baseball field is. I barely know how to spell the baseball field stadium at Fiscalini Field. So just working through that. Last week we had a brush fire at a soccer game, and so trying to put a plan together as far as an emergency management plan of how to get 400 people out of a soccer stadium.
I'd imagine the shifted mentality. Obviously, you're organized and you think at a high level and do those things, but there has to be a shift in how you think when you're talking about educating coaches and student athletes about the experience they're doing, or how to turn a no into a yes in terms of compliance, to okay, we got to figure out how to get all these people out of the stadium because we're all about to burn up right now. So let's figure that out. Tell me about that mentality shift from thinking about things internally to what you do now, thinking about external things and what the public sees?
I think two things really prepared me well for this position. One was my PhD and the graduate level education, and the other was compliance, because you have to put a logical spin on things, right? And you also need to be able to communicate that. So when it comes to an emergency management plan, the teacher comes out in me, and you just take over, and it's all about protecting your people and making safe we're safe and secure, and you're being very concise. But I would say those two things prepared me better than anything, as far as being logical and analytical and organized and communicating my way through whatever the crisis is at the moment. And there's been a lot of great sessions here at Women Leaders about crisis management, but we're in the business of developing people, and part of that is take the good with the bad.
Does the position you're in now require more of your personality?
It requires a different part of my personality, I'll say that. In compliance, I was really fired up about the rules education and working with our coaches. And when I was at Boise State, I saw the NCAA compliance rules at the time work to the advantage of our football staff. The more they understood the rules, the more they could put them to work, the more they could have an advantage, so that when their team took the field in the Fiesta Bowl, they beat in Oklahoma, because we were playing with level rules. So I really saw like that compliance bit is a key tool in your toolbox. So the compliance aspect, that brought out the teacher in me. This brings out the more fun, creative, innovative. I kind of like to touch that part of my personality where compliance wasn't even beginning to hit the surface of innovation and creativity. So now I'm on the fun bunch. That's what I tell. I'm back on the fun squad.
So 7 months in, the reputation you have is that people call on you for advice on a number of things. But when you made this transition and you show up and you got to talk to officials and you just had a brush fire at a baseball game, do you rely on a lot of the people in the industry that you know that have called you for advice in terms of how to handle this thing or how to handle these problems when you talk about
Yeah, my basketball coach at Gonzaga, that's a great question. And the most important thing she ever taught me was surround yourself with good people. And so I think I've done that. And I have a lot of conversations with my peers in the industry who I grew up with. And I will say this, shameless plug for women's basketball. They're mostly former women's basketball players, but phenomenally high-achieving, now very high-achieving senior associates at this level, mostly in development fundraising. But I reach out to them because they could have called me, or still could, with a compliance question years ago, but I'm reaching out to them because they've done this fan engagement. They've done this development. They've been putting on golf tournaments for years. And so, when I need to get in the weeds on things with how to pull that off, I definitely have a solid group of friends and peers that I call, and I'm constantly calling them for advice. Constantly calling them. Right? Absolutely. Exactly. And it doesn't even need to be. Some of them are at Power 5, some are at a D3 school. And being able to talk through your day, from outfits to relationships to just the day-to-day weed stuff on how to work with an upset corporate sponsor. Like, we just get you through.
Right. Well, my final question here, or final direction I want to go here is relative to development. Now, I don't think development is under your umbrella over there when you handle external operations at San Bernardino, but I'd imagine that when you talk about creating experiences for the public and creating experiences for potential donors, creating experiences for sponsors, there's some overlap with university development and university enhancement. Can you talk about that aspect of it when you got into the job and you had to start going to that part of campus for the first time?
And what I found was very receptive on my campus specifically. It's we're aligned from the president on down. They want athletics to be a nationally recognized program at CSUSB. And so those campus partnerships, when I went to strategic communications, and when you grow up in athletics, you hit a lot of closed doors when you head across campus. And what I found specific to this institution was wide open doors. We'd love to partnership with you, and very, very receptive, specifically to me. But as far as campus is concerned, you got to know people before you need people. And so I think this time around, very intentional with creating that for us outside of athletics. And I tell our staff all the time, everybody's in compliance, everybody's a marketer, and everybody's in development. So if you can't sign up for those three things, you just shouldn't be here in our department, because every time you fly the flag and wear that brand, you're representing the institution that you work for. So for me, it was very easy to make those relationships happen. And then, like I said, I mean, I want to be the pride of the Inland Empire when it comes to our game day experience. And it's really about creating an experience for our fans, our family, and our student athletes.
This is excellent information. And my final question here is about those relationships on campus. I mean, did you go meet different deans? Did you go spend time with professors? Tell me about that aspect, because that becomes important when you talk about creating an experience that fans alike, and I imagine the people on campus are also fans. Tell me about developing those relationships, those key relationships around campus that you had to do now that you're in the external.
You know, some of it is operational, and some of it, Ty, that's a good question, is just simply out of necessity. So I have the chief of police on my cell phone. That's a requirement for my job when we have a brush fire at soccer games. I'm very thankful that she's saving that. I haven't hit the faculty side of campus as much as I should, except for in our game day promotions where we're recognizing faculty appreciation and really trying to tie them in. We've looked at, for years, faculty and staff didn't receive free admission to our games, and so it was a tough ask, specifically in that area, to have them pay to come see our student athletes play. So we've looked at that. The other thing is just getting out there with the students and the student engagement. And I went to Gonzaga. Everybody knows about Gonzaga and the kennel and what a tough place that is to play. So I want to create that environment, but I can't do that without our student leaders and the students living on campus and our Greek system and all that. So we need them all.
Chelsea, this has been an excellent conversation. It sounds like San Bernardino definitely hired a person that's going to help them go to the places they want to go. Well, I really appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
Thanks, Ty.
That was Chelsea Herman. She's a Senior Associate Athletics Director and Senior Woman Administrator at Cal State San Bernardino. And of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.